Folks, coming up on this episode of the Mañana No Mas podcast is an interview with Stacy Raske. Stacy Raske is a best-selling author, speaker, Iraqi war veteran. She's a badass biker chick, international success coach and leadership mentor. She's an intuitive business consultant. She spent the last 5 years, leaning into and learning from her traumas, her addiction recovery, her journey to deeply understand the role, beliefs, boundaries, and balance of sabotage and success. I invited her to this podcast because I've been really intrigued by her backstory and how she's leapt forward to find herself and to help others along the way. Her mission is to change the social and cultural narrative surrounding ambitious, visionary alpha women. You'll hear her say alpha women quite a bit in this coming interview. She helps them shift from an intimidating mindset to an influential leadership mindset through unlocking their full authenticity, hiring their inner rebel, and balancing their power with more divine feminine energy. This allows them to finally shatter the invisible ceiling. If you remember when we talked about the law of the lid, right, with John Maxwell, it enables them to shatter their invisible ceiling, leaving bigger impact, legacy, and experience unconditional success in every aspect of their lives and livelihood. Folks, stay tuned. This interview with Stacy Raske is going to be badass. Hey folks, welcome back to the Mañana No Mas podcast. As I said in the introduction, I'm here with Stacy Raske, and I'm thrilled to death to have her. I met her just this year through the empowerment retreat with Lauren Santora. She did an interview. I was the spectator, and I was blown away. Stacy brings a lot to the table. She's a best-selling author. She's a veteran. She's a coach. She's a speaker. And she is one badass lady. Just go to her website, and you'll see all about it. The links are in the description. Stacy, I don't want to take too much of the lightning away from you. I want to give you a chance to introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about you.
Well, thank you so much, Kurt, for having me on. It's been such a pleasure having an opportunity to connect with you and network and, kind of collaborate on some really amazing things. And yeah, I mean, you hit kind of the Cliff's Notes version, right? Like best-selling author, keynote speaker, badass biker chick, Iraq war veteran, which is so perfect for today since we're recording on Veterans Day. And most importantly, soulful success coach for alpha women leaders. And it's amazing how many ambitious, visionary women founders and CEOs don't realize they need that amazing alpha energy to truly lead their business. So I help them shift from intimidating to influential leaders to shatter the invisible ceiling and elevate their visibility and vulnerability, authenticity, and really massively scale their empire.
I love that. And so I'm going to be super, super transparent with you, because people that really know me, that follow me, are going to be like, why does Kurt have this lady on talking about ladies? Like, why does he do this? Because I personally have lost patience with some of it. Like, I went to the Jake Ballantyne Speaker Summit this year, and almost every woman that stood up was like, my business focuses on helping women do this with their websites. My business focuses on helping women do that. And I'm like, if I stood up and said, I help white males find success in this, I would be run out of town. There'd be no, and so I began to lose patience. But I want to be transparent. I listened to what you said on Lauren's talk. I've listened to you on other podcasts. I looked through your website, and I'm like, no, she's bringing a different angle to this. Like, I've worked under women before that had the BITCH thing going on, right? Mm-hmm. And when I would call them out on it, I would say, look, I've been to John Maxwell leadership training. It's about influence. It's not about beating people with a stick. And they would say, well, if I don't act like a bitch, people won't listen. And I was like, no, we will. Just guide us. Mm-hmm. We're asking you to lead. Just lead. And I love that you kind of address that.
Oh, thank you so much. And you're right. Yeah, I totally call it out, because it's just this bullshit paradigm that we have, that so many women, especially who either identify with as being that alpha type of personality, or B, are just in a leadership position, whether it's corporate or it is in their own business, really gravitate too much into that masculine energy, that it needs to be hustle, control, intimidation in order to feel empowered to lead. And that's not what it is at all. And so, and of course, even though my coaching focuses on serving women for the most part, I mean, I do work with some men privately, but obviously my speaking, my corporate leadership training, my books are not gender specific, and the concepts are not gender specific, because it doesn't matter who I'm talking to. We need to balance our masculine and feminine energy as leaders. You know, basically for the layman, it is balancing your intensity or your control or your, you know, the actions that you do with some empathy. You know, you've got to be strong and have high level of empathy and sensitivity and authenticity with your team. So if you look at the highest level male leaders who are exceptionally influential, they have access to that feminine energy, their empathy, their emotion, just as much as their power and strength.
I can remember earlier in my leadership journey, the thing that people would say I lacked would be compassion, right? They would say, oh, that guy, he might be good at project managing, or he might be good at strategy, but he's not very compassionate. And then I found the more that I embraced the idea of what's it like in someone else's shoes, or not, you know, there's a difference between empathy and sympathy, right? And so it was like, okay, no, you know what? I need to understand, like, what does this individual need from the company or need from the team in order to find the success I'm trying to direct them to find, you know? And I can remember really struggling with that.
Oh, and I think everyone does at some point, you know, being able to step up into a higher level of leadership where it's not just about us anymore. Whether you're leading a team in corporate, or, you know, obviously in a bike shop or something, you know, power sports industry, or you are an entrepreneur. You've got to be that leader for your brand, your business, your message, your mission, in order to create that impact in the world. You've got to have that energy of leadership, which, again, to be influential, which in my mind is this really beautiful divine alpha energy, is so balanced. There's not trying to control other people. And that's the stuck point that most people hit. It's that wall, or what shows up in our success is that invisible ceiling. And so it's that internal wall that we have that really blocks us, like the truth of who we are, from being shown to the world. You know, we hide those parts of ourselves away because, you know, we've been hurt and wounded as children. We've been rejected and had bad breakups. We've had things not work out when we spoke up in a professional situation or a personal situation, and all that baggage compounds, and we hide that stuff. So we wear a mask of who we should be. Just like you said, you know, that bitch complex as a leader is wearing that mask of, well, I've got to lead like the men do. And that's not how people in general are designed to lead, but especially women. Women have to lead differently.
Yeah, and it's so unique, right? Because people say, well, I have to lead like men do. And then I think, I've had way too many jobs, Stacy. I mean, I bounced all over the place. And I can think about all the different people I worked under. And when someone says, I want to lead like men do, I'm like, you haven't been around a lot of leaders then. Because most of them suck. Like, most people that get into a leadership position in a small to middle-sized company, it's by accident, right? And so one of the things that I always talk about when I'm training or coaching somebody is like, do you think you're good at what you do now? And they'll say, oh yeah, I'm really good at what I do. I just got you to, you know, work on the fringes, you know, kind of trim me up, right? I'm like, okay, so if you're this good by accident, how good would you be if you really tried? You know, and then that's where we start to like build from there, right? Because most people aren't doing what they want. If you said, what do you want to do to a third grader? They wouldn't go, I want to be a service writer at a motorcycle dealership, or I want to be a guy that cuts lawns in my neighborhood, right? So it's like, okay, what you're doing now is an accident. So if you're this good by accident, how good would you be if you did it on purpose, right? And I really feel that there's a purpose in what you've put together. Like as I went through your material, I'm like, she's really got purpose. This is laid out. This is well orchestrated. So I like that.
Oh, that is amazing. I appreciate that that feedback. I was thinking like, ooh, what did you go through?
I went through everything. I saw.
Oh, stalker.
So no. So you talk about authenticity, and I want to make sure that we give the listeners a chance to understand where that authenticity comes from. Give me a little insight to background. Like you weren't always focused, badass coach chick. You were somebody else before. So what happened and what was that transition to become who you are today?
Oh yes, the story.
Well, we all got an origin story.
Yeah, no, we do absolutely, because I mean every superhero has an origin story, and all of the best superheroes in the world, the people who create the most impact in the world, the entrepreneurs,
You
the
just called
Oprah
yourself a
Winfrey's.
superhero.
I did. I have
That's
a
awesome.
superpower, and my vulnerability, that authenticity is my superpower.
Nice.
And you have a superpower. Everybody has a superpower. Everyone has the capacity to be that superhero and create an impact in the world.
That's great.
Everyone has the capacity to be Richard Branson or Oprah Winfrey. We all come from some sort of a backstory that we, overcome challenges and learn the lessons and allow that stuff that most people avoid feeling and healing and processing within themselves, that baggage, the bullshit stories and programs that say you can't do something, you've got to follow these rules or this structure, or, there's no way you could be successful doing what you love. Those are the things we've got to lean into, that darkness, because doing the hard work is the easy button. So for me, it was only 5 years ago, I had my rock bottom moment. So after I got out of the Army, over the next 10 years was just this slow decline, because I had unhealthy coping from childhood trauma. I had unhealthy coping because I just didn't know how to handle anything that I was going through. And over time, that showed up in my life. And I kept building this life of shoulds. You should get the college degree. You should get married. You should buy a house. You should have a corporate job that's safe and gives you benefits and pays well. And you should have nice cars. And you should earn good money and make sure you spend good money to show that you have this lifestyle, the prescribed American dream, which was actually my prison. And so the more I spent the 10 years rejecting my truth, ignoring me, and giving my power away to trying to control things outside of my control, or, doing the shoulds, I just became progressively more miserable, which then exacerbated everything else in my life. My health was in shambles. At my rock bottom moment, I was 100 pounds overweight. And I was walking with a cane because of chronic health conditions. And I was chronically on a bunch of medications because I was depressed and I was anxious. And I just hated everything that I was doing in my life. So I just numbed out. I numbed out and avoided everything. So I numbed out with food, television, social media, alcohol, drugs, medication, even at my worst, self-harm. Just something to change how I was feeling in that moment, because I didn't know how to handle the tightrope balance of being this alpha energy type of person, which is high empathy and sensitivity, and high sensation seeking, which is that drive and ambition. Yeah. So feeling everything and perceiving everything in the world around me and myself, and at the same time constantly feeling this need to be in this constant state of motion. And I just stood in my kitchen, grabbing food out of the cabinet, just shoving it into my face, and then chasing it with booze. And I'm bawling my eyes out. And I just have this moment of clarity where I'm like, what the hell am I doing? And I had an answer. And for the first time, I was fully present with myself in probably a long time. And the answer was, oh, I'm trying to make myself look as ugly as I feel inside. I hated myself. I had no idea who I'd become. And what was beautiful in that moment was just, I was like, okay, that's it. I'm done. I am done. And I thank God for my therapist, my trauma therapist. But I went to therapy literally like a couple of days later, and I told her, I said, I'm done. I'm throwing in the towel. And she's like, oh, okay. What are you done with? And I said, I'm done trying to control anything but myself.
Yeah.
And literally like a light switch, that was it. So then within a few months, I started this massive like juicing and cleanse and doing the inner work, doing the outer work. In 2015, I lost 100 pounds, got off all my medications, started my business, like it did all the stuff, started that journey too of rebuilding my life, because prior to that, my marriage was in shambles, even though we'd been together for a long time. Like it was a disaster. My health was so bad. I lost my corporate career. It was just so toxic too, just for me emotionally and mentally, it was just not good. But I mean, I was on long-term disability, and then I just fully resigned because I'm like, I can't do it. I was a pharmaceutical chemist, right? Like I'm a huge science nerd, by the way. Like I can be woo and emotional all day long, but I will nerd out like the best of them. And, and maybe that's why I love, changing my own brakes on occasion, working on my motorcycle, change my oil, do that stuff. Like it's fun. It's really fun. Plus my husband loves it, so I can just hang out with him.
That's really cool.
So, yeah.
I heard so many things in what you were saying, and I didn't want to break in because I wanted you to finish. I wanted you to get through it. But, a lot of entrepreneurs, trainers, coaches, speakers, potential authors are the type of people that might listen to this podcast. And what you described is so similar. Like, I would say to my story, yours is a little more amped than mine, but like similar to mine in that in 2016, I was in a job that I was miserable at, and it's one of those where you ask God, you go, you made me awesome at doing this, but why do I hate it so much? Like I'm helping all these people and you gave me all these great opportunities and I should be thankful, but I'm freaking miserable, man. Like, and then I got fat. I was super fat. I had a corporate credit card. I could eat whatever I wanted, drink whatever I wanted. The company paid for it. Mm-hmm. And I realized one day getting on an airplane, I told you I used to train in Florida. I was getting on an airplane to go from Daytona to Atlanta. And they gave me the middle seat. And I realized I wasn't comfortable in between the armrests on the airplane. And I flew on like 114 airplanes that year. And so that's when it hit me. That was my moment. I was like, what have I done to myself? Mm-hmm. What have I done? And I thought about the classes I taught, the influence I had on people. When I first started doing that job, it was a dream job and I was over the moon and I was funny and I was comical and people loved coming to my class. And by the time I was 275 pounds and could barely fit on the airplane, I was caustic. I was someone that had used sarcasm instead of humor. I taught what I had to teach and people said I was good at it, but it wasn't Kurt, it wasn't me. And I quit that job, got away from that toxic boss and took the gig at Suzuki and got my John Maxwell certification, shed the pounds, got back into bicycling. And it's weird because people look at you, people look at me, they look at people that do these things and they go, oh man, that person's awesome. Where does that come from? And I don't know about you, but I get tired of just saying it was a switch in my head I had to turn on, because it makes it sound too easy. But you were like, I realized I hated myself and I wanted to look as ugly as I felt inside. And that's probably one of the most honest phrases I've heard from somebody in a long, long time.
Like I said, vulnerability is my superpower.
Yeah, no, that was really, really good. So do you feel, and this is going to sound weird, maybe people have already asked you this before, but you were in the Army, right? And so then you got out of the Army and then Do you think it was kind of that integrating back to society that was such a big speed bump, or was there something in that transition that maybe would have made that easier for you? Because you showed up and was like, well, now I'm a pharmaceutical scientist or whatever, right? So how does that transition work? And was that harmful, or was there benefits there?
So, I mean, obviously being on the other side of it, I appreciate every aspect of my journey because all of those lessons needed to happen, to get to this place. And I think you highlighted that really well, because people look at you, people look at me, and they think, oh my gosh, you've been doing this forever. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
If people who've been following me, even in just a year or two, have seen massive growth and expansion in me, my message, my mission, my impact, the media exposure, just everything that's happening in my world. They're like, whoa, you're on the fast track. And I'm like, yeah, because I'm doing the inner work. But it's only been 5 years. Like, that's it. Like, what can you accomplish in such a short period of time by embracing your power of choice? Because you always have a choice. Everything is a choice. We choose every moment of every day. What are you choosing?
Yep.
Well, who are you choosing to be first? Then what are you choosing to do?
Yeah. So I would be interested in asking questions like, what do you know about American football? What do you know about the stats on football? What do you know about the stats on baseball? Like, you're so driven and you've made such a headway in 5 years. My guess is you don't have a favorite show on Netflix that you have to watch every time a new episode comes out.
No.
Because you're doing something else.
Yeah, I mean, I go through my phases. What did I do during quarantine? I relocated from Pennsylvania to Florida. So, actually having internet where I can stream now, we've actually learned how to Netflix and chill and binge on television series and stuff when we feel like it. But that's true. There is a fire that burns for something bigger. And so, yeah, sitting around, I kind of look at it, like I did that enough before. And I'm so connected to my vision and my mission that is such great fuel. But all that energy, of course, comes from doing all that inner work, right? Which, kind of going back to your previous question about that transition, it was really interesting because getting out of the military and building kind of sort of this normal life of like being married and having the family and, just the whole thing, even that didn't fit. And so right away after the military, I started down that rabbit hole of unhealthy coping. So for me, the first few months, and I will highlight the biggest problem was a lack of community. So when you're in the military, you have community, you have brotherhood and sisterhood. And when you get out,
whether you want it or not,
whether you want it or not, exactly.
Yeah.
But you learn through your training how vital it is, and you absolutely need it. And then you get out and you're flapping on your own. If you're not living in an area that has a strong veteran community, where we were living did not. We moved to an area where my husband came from, so it was not my place, and I did not fit in at all. Where we lived in Pennsylvania, I was like, So here I'm chronically being rejected socially. I don't have a community in which I fit in. So, and now I'm things have shifted and changed in our marriage because he did not want to go back near his family either. It was out of, again, some obligation with my stepson, his son, and, choices we made for the greater good. But it was not an ideal fit. And that definitely sent us down that rabbit hole of just unhealthy coping. So for me, I went back to college to get my degree, which was another should. And I just leaned into my studies. So that's safe. I don't have to be vulnerable. I don't have to engage with you. It's safe because I get validation. I was all the high achiever needing the external validation because I never felt good enough. I was not worthy or deserving of love, success, just anything, because there was that deep scarcity, that fear of just, I'm not enough. So I needed all that stuff. So I was always chasing something. And so, yeah, there was just a progressive decline of chronically chasing external validation.
So based on your personality type, right? If you were to take the whole disc thing and go through that, we can both guess where each of us are going to fall on that scale. Do you find that you were more prone to extremes, right? You were like, either I'm going to be a success and kick ass and be a badass, or I'm going to drink, take pills, and eat until I can't walk anymore, right? Mm-hmm. It was like there was no in between, right?
No, it's very, it's a lot of that achiever energy. And some of it is that alpha energy too, that things are very just all or nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, very all or nothing. So I'm all into whatever, which means everything else is off, so that shows up in many ways. Like, okay, I can be successful in business, but guess what? My health is going to suffer.
Yeah.
Or I can be successful in business, but my primary relationship or my marriage is going to suffer because I can't turn work off, right? People, and that's how it shows up. And it doesn't matter if it's corporate or entrepreneurship, but this is why so many people struggle with balance.
Balance is tough. I mean, I just did a contract training that was 12, 14-hour days, and it was to train people for the election process. But so during that 3 weeks, I didn't ride a bicycle at all. And so those that follow me know that I average 50 to 75 miles a week bicycling. And so if I don't get that pedal time in, I immediately start to panic. Not outwardly panic, but inwardly I'm like, okay, what's my calorie intake? Am I still drinking beer? Do I got to cut back? Because I love red meat and beer. And so if I don't keep the activity level up, I got to be real careful what happens physiologically, right? And so it was like a panic. As soon as the contract was done, I was like on social, like on the top of a mountain riding my mountain bike, saying, hey, I made it. I'm back on the bike. Because it's like, that's that accountability thing, right? It's like there's a bunch of people watching and they're probably going, hey, Kurt hasn't ridden his bike in 3 weeks. I wonder if he gave up. Kurt didn't give up, but it's that you have to re-engage and get that balance back, and you have to recognize it. So let's bring people more up speed. So you gave me the origin story. Tell me about the speaking and the authorship. Like, did you have an order to it? Did you publish the book to become a noted speaker, or were you already speaking and said, man, I got to write this crap down? What was your process?
I wish it was that planned. Yeah, no, real life was literally the October prior to writing and launching my book. I was at an event, a workshop with one of my business coach at the time. And she took us through this visualization of stepping into this bubble of you really living and being your highest self, right? And so I step into it, no attachment, no expectation as to what I'm going to see. And what I see is me walking off of a stage and going to the back of a room. And this woman comes up to me, bawling her eyes out, and says, oh my God, thank you so much. Your book changed my life. And I'm like, what book?
I'm not a writer. What book?
Right. What book? So, but as the universe is amazing, God is amazing. That same day, I met the woman who actually connected me with my writing coach and editor, who helped me get it done in 3 months, my book.
Nice.
So it was like, bam. So yeah, it was very aligned, just sharing, really, I think, just my trauma and addiction recovery journey, and like literally here's the foundation of what I do with my clients at that time. It's still the foundation of all the work that I do with my clients. Mm-hmm. Now we just do even more, like building on top of that for what I call influential leadership training. So my influential leadership formula, right, for these epic women to shift from intimidating to influential. So but yeah, it's still that foundation stuff. And everything in that book, I still do to this day. Like, that's what's so funny. Everything that's in there, the routine, the respect the boundaries, the release the baggage, the raise your standards. And there's one more. Oh, yeah. Being open to receive, which is huge.
That is huge.
Yeah.
For the longest time, I operated in a world where I thought as an entrepreneur, I had to do. Like I had to provide, I had to prove, through this thing. And I would find that I would start these projects and then the projects would kind of lose energy. They would just lose something along the way, and I realized I'm a really good builder, but I might not be a great community builder. And I'm just, which is weird because I'm hosting a podcast. I'll just be plain about it. But it's like, I see other people start a Facebook group and instantly have 5,000 people in it. And I'm going, okay, did they buy the followers? Because I've had my group for 5 years and it's got 137 people in it, right? So it's like, what's really happening here? And then I started to realize I need to surround myself, whether they're paying partners, power partners, whatever the phrase is, I need to surround myself with really talented, engaging people that want to be in my space as well, right? And then I found as soon as you start doing that, you begin to borrow off of each other's energy, off of each other's communities, off of each other's talents. And I found that there was a lot of success in just association, just getting to know some folks. Like I've started to get to know you. Greg Kettner's a comedian I'm in touch with. Andrew's the trainer in Australia. I have friends in Belgium, France, Spain, everywhere. And it's amazing what that difference has done, that open to receive thing you said. It's like, just let it come in. Some people say, hey, I can help you with that. And you go, oh, at first you panic. What's this going to cost? What do they want? They want something. And a lot of times they're just like, man, you're on a really good streak right now. And I think I could give you this that would help you get to the next level. And you're like, holy crap, thanks. And then I've noticed that I pay it forward quite a bit too. So it just seems to work. But that open to receive thing is huge.
It is, because really that at the quintessential aspect of receiving is feminine energy. Right? We're great at masculine energy, which is giving. It blows the minds of when I talk to moms, especially, like giving is an action. It's actually masculine energy. So it's the doing, it's the goal seeking, it's the driving, the vision driving, the ambition, all of that stuff is that beautiful masculine energy. Or we get into the disempowered masculine energy that looks like control. Hello, control freaks. Yes, I am a recovering control freak. I get it. I get it. Like that's a lot of that achiever energy, that mask we wear is controlling as much as we can how other people perceive us because we are so afraid of rejection and hiding that not good enough.
So that's that toxic masculinity people complain about.
To a certain degree, yes. Yeah, there are other layers to the toxic masculinity that I've, learned about. And so for women, and especially women like alpha women leaders, right? They step into that toxic masculinity at, really being in that ego, being in that control. Yeah. And so, toxic masculinity is not just in groups of men. And so I think it's really important to talk about that just as much as the extreme opposite, right? Yeah. So that feminine energy is our ability to receive, but it's also your ability to release, to let the shit go that doesn't matter, to let go of the stuff that's outside of your control, right? I mean, in the best sense of release, it's actually surrender. Being in that energy of trusting God, trusting the universe, whatever that looks like for you, trusting yourself to actually be enough, trusting that you're showing up with what you need, everything you need, in case you don't know, is already inside you to create everything that you desire right now. The key is trusting that and then letting go of all the things that don't serve you, don't matter, aren't in your control. And then this is a big piece of the sabotage cycle, is being open to receive when you do put in the action and obviously the inner work to create your desires, and then being open to receive the success on the back end. Because I see so many successful people, that's where they sabotage the most, is actually after they get what they want, because they're like, oh, wait, that's challenging my upper limit, right? Or my abundance capacity is like, nope, I can't. So then they sabotage. It might be in business like, woohoo, I just got my first big month income, but let me not have any income for the next month or two to offset it. Or woohoo, business is going amazing. So let me sabotage my health or sabotage my marriage or whatever it is. And it's all subconscious. So we have to go back and completely shift the programming, shift the stories, the root stuff. And it's all the childhood crap that we don't even realize, but that's all that invisible ceiling. If you see the invisible ceiling on the amount of joy, vitality, love, money, impact, anything that you see, even weight, right? If you hit a plateau, there's a reason, and it goes back to that old stuff.
I can remember everyone making fun of me. I literally, I can like it was yesterday, and I'm in my 50s, so I must have a really good memory. But like third grade, and people would say, "Oh, what are you going to do when you grow up or whatever?" And I was like, I can't wait. I'm going to start writing some books. And people were like, "What?" And like my best friends were like, "What do you mean writing books?" Like I said, "I'd like to be a writer." And they're like, "You hate English. Like you don't even like going to school." And I was like, "So like that, why should that matter?" And I can remember saying the words out of my mouth were, we had just learned that you could be a president when you're 35 years old, right?
Wow.
And
Yeah.
so that was third grade, and they said the age to become president is 35. And so I asked my friends, I said, what makes a human being capable of running an entire country at the age of 35 by popular vote? Like who votes for someone that's 35 years old to be president of the country? And they were like, that doesn't even make sense. What question are you asking? I said, no, you have to be 35 to be president in the United States. I'm not saying I want to be president, but somebody could become president at 35. So why can't I have enough influence to write a book or to run my own business or to do my own thing? And it sounds really weird, but by the time I was in 6th grade, I had figured out how to franchise my paper route. And I was a paper boy, and every time a paper boy would quit, I would tell the branch manager, "Hey, I'll take that route." And he's like, "You already have 2 routes. You can't possibly deliver 90 papers in a day." And I'm like, "I can totally do it. I'll take the route." And so out of desperation, he would give me the route, and I would hire a classmate to go deliver the papers. And so after like 6 months of this, I had like 9 routes, and all I was doing was going around and collecting the money, and then I'd pay out the paper boys, and I'd keep the lion's share for myself because I was franchising. Of course, I'm pretty sure that was illegal back then, but that's how I got started. Like, that's the entrepreneur in me. I was like, I don't know why I can't just leverage other people to make things happen and run this like a business, And my friends all said I was crazy. And then I got thrown out of school in my senior year, and I was told, a guy like you will never amount to anything in this world. And then I spent 5 years proving them right, like just making bad decisions, self-sabotage, all those things you just described, And I think back and I go, like you said, I wouldn't trade in the hardship. I wouldn't trade in the bad decisions. I mean, I'm writing a book called Overcoming Shitty Decisions right now, but that's what made me who I am now. That's what makes me able to relate to everyone else that's trying to climb that same ladder. Right?
That is an amazing story. That is such a great story. But, this is a lot of that part that I talk about all the time too, is the inner rebel, right? Is being that trailblazer, that change maker. You go against the status quo and I'm like, nope, I'm going to be successful. And what's cool is that rebel energy inspires entrepreneurship. That's where it comes from. Because we're like, no, I'm not going to do it like everybody else says. I'm going to do it my way.
Do it my way.
I'm going to do it my way. But then that rebel energy is, the core of that rebel energy is, I'll do what I want, when I want, my way. Well, that easily sounds like some sabotage too, right? Like, right? AKA procrastination with my time, or going and, prioritizing and doing things for everybody else first instead of our goals.
It's so hard because even in entrepreneurship, there's still the idea of best practices, and I think that when you're really coaching people, that is like, you went on a riff 5 minutes ago that was like great coaching talk. There was no way I was going to interrupt you, bringing out your inner person and all the answers are within you. And I was like, oh, she's coaching, she's going, let her go. But then there's that other side where you still have to cover best practices and what a key performance indicator is and how to measure yourself. And, in how to goal set and plan and move things forward, you know? And so I want to value your time. So I want to get to the next step of this conversation. What does a Stacy Raske, like, perfect coaching client look like? Like, who, I don't want to take people out of your net, but like, who do you want to put in your net?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So, well, yeah, I mean, if we're just focusing on the coaching, then it really is these amazing, epic, visionary women, lots of ambition. They're already really successful. So usually they're close to or above the six-figure mark, either in their own business, or they're already a six-figure earner, like in corporate leadership. And again, most of the time they're ready to take their leadership to the next level on the corporate side, or they're transitioning away from corporate and starting their own business. Because, right, how many corporate leaders leave and they're like, nope, now I'm a consultant.
Yeah, now I'm a consultant.
Right, now I'm a consultant, because everybody's a consultant or a coach. Right?
Yeah, yeah.
But really, you know, that is kind of the quintessential thing, where it's less about what their profession is or how they serve their clients in their business, but more about the type of woman they are. And like I said, some know right out of the gates, though, yeah, I'm such an alpha woman. Like, I've got to, you know, be control issues and just like take charge, get it done, no problem. But, you know, they really feel that disconnect internally with that full authenticity with themselves. Because, right, that's the biggest mask we wear, is the one with ourselves. And so they can feel the invisible ceiling in their marriage, in their health, in their energy, in their income. And they are called to make a big impact in the world, to leave a legacy of change and build an empire built on a mission. Like, they are called to go big, and they're ready, and they know they need the visibility. They need the vulnerability. They need to lead with their story. And truly, they don't want to settle in any way. They want to be, do, and have it all.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's the coaching. And what's cool is we're able to do that very quickly by strategically unlocking that stuff in the background, but it helps them to step into that place of balance, which is empowering their feminine energy, which most of them have learned to reject. Yeah. And empowering their masculine energy. So it's less about control and more about internal safety and stability. Because, of course, most of our triggers come from not safe, and also massive, massive boundaries. So that is the three pillars of what I specialize in are the beliefs, the boundaries, and then the balance.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then, of course, that builds on for things like corporate leadership, speaking engagements, all of those things. So, yeah.
Nice. So the links will be in the description for anyone that's watching or listening on Anchor. The links will be in the description. So be sure to look her up. She is fantastic. Absolutely wonderful. Follow all that. But Stacy, if people aren't ready for you at the coaching level yet, but maybe they're looking for a speaker or something like that, do you entertain live events yet, or are you still doing strictly virtual?
Oh, no, I love live events. I have no problem. I've been kind of one of those people that, like, keep in mind perspective. I cleaned up anthrax at the Pentagon after 9/11. So, sorry, COVID, schmovid, it doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I mean, so really it has been nice getting out, doing, you know, networking in person again. So yes, I am all about live events. I'm about virtual events. I have no problem traveling. I'm on my way to Jamaica here in a couple of weeks. I'm like, yeah, girls trip, yay. So, you know, but again, it's living my life and doing it in a way it's all about leading by example. And if I want to inspire others to live their best life, to truly be, do, and have it all, I am living that myself, you know, building my dream life, which I'm living it. It's amazing. So.
Fantastic. Well, I have a little bit, I'm going to say it's a surprise, right? But I wanted to offer something to listeners of yours, because I know when I post this and it says a Stacy Raske interview, people from your tribe are going to pop over and go, what's going on with Stacy? I got to figure it out, you know, because, you know, you accused me of being a stalker earlier. I'm sure you've got a few of those, right? So
no, I just was highlighting that's what you were doing to find all my stuff. But that's my quirky sense of humor because I'm a big giant goofball.
all right, I'm goofy too. Everyone that knows me knows I'm kind of strange. In fact, when I was training people how to run the election stations for the county of Los Angeles, I was telling people, I said, "Oh, I came in from Corona," and people were like, "You came from Corona?" Because it's 60 miles away. And I was like, "Yeah, but I rode a Hayabusa, so I could ride wheelies through traffic. It was all good." And everybody was like, "Is he serious? Or did you really do that?" And so that's how I started out. So everyone knew I was a goofball from the moment class started. And like you, I love doing a live event again. You know, having 50 people in a classroom and being able to talk and teach and watch the lights come on for people in person is so rewarding, right? And they did the 6 feet distance and the mask and all that stuff, but it was really cool to be able to get in the room with people and do that. But my gift, my surprise, it's Veterans Day and we're recording this. Mm-hmm. You're a vet. You're all about kick-ass women, right? Yeah. And you're about working with kick-ass women, at least what I saw on the website, that are like alpha level, have some level of success, understand what goals are and things like that. Mm-hmm. So I thought, what could I give to Stacy's audience if they come over here that would make it worth the listen? And if they get to the end of this, they're going to see that if they go to my website, which is manananomas.com, and go to the Academy, I built a coupon in there and it's called Badass Women.
Oh, nice.
Badass Women. I had to make sure I actually made it Badass Women. It's called Badass Women. So if you put in the coupon Badass Women, you get to take any of my 18 courses for free. And I'll leave that coupon up. It's going to be all of November. So I had a Black Friday sale going, so I just made the same dates as the Black Friday sale. Cool. But I want veteran women that listen to you to know that there's a starting point, right? And then maybe once they do a piece of maybe they do the Embracing the Process course, or maybe they do a goal setting course. Mm-hmm. But I'm hoping that leads them to your level. Like I'm hoping that they go, okay, maybe I am qualified to do this. That negative self-speak that says, oh, I could never do that, right? I have found a lot of people that listen to us, and this comes from feedback I get through the website. They go, I love listening to you, but I could never do that. And I'm like, no, I was the fat dude that couldn't ride a mountain bike 4 years ago, you know, and now I'm doing century rides and, you know, climbing mountains and doing all kinds of things. And so I wanted to give them something that would be equitable and something that I think reflects well on your mission. So hopefully that works for you.
That is amazing. Thank you so much. Yeah.
I didn't discuss it with you ahead of time. So now I'm like, wow, I sure hope I did the right thing. So
no, absolutely. That's phenomenal. I mean, but that's anybody's going to benefit, whether it's the women, the veteran women, the veteran men, you know, anybody that's in the audience, obviously, you know, to really capitalize on that power of choice, right? Because look at what you've done in a short period of time. Look what I've done in a short period of time, just by choosing in for me.
Yeah.
Because it's not about me, and your stuff's not about you. It's about the impact we're here to make for the greater good, right? Being of highest service. Like everybody's always chasing their purpose. And I'm like, everybody's purpose is the same, to be of highest service.
Yeah. Yeah. No, add value to others. It's like this huge thing. Yeah. And it's, you know, it's so funny. We obviously have different ladders we've climbed, right? Mm-hmm. But it seems like the ladders are up against the same building. Right? We have a lot of the same ideologies, but we teach it different ways. And I think it's awesome that no matter who our audiences are, there's a benefit from bringing us together in conversation.
Always, right? Everybody needs to hear the same things presented in different ways for it to finally sink in. I get that all the time from my audience. They're like, oh my God, I've known about this forever, but you said it in a way that I finally got it. It finally resonated, right? Yeah. So, and then obviously you get to have these amazing conversations and co-create. So, you know, you never know what's going to come up. It's phenomenal.
That is awesome.
Thank you.
As we come to the end of our session, is there anything did I not ask a question you wish I would have asked? Is there something you want to talk about, something you want to refer someone to? Is there anything going on that you want to share with the listeners now that's relevant now?
No, not specific. I would say just teasers of things that the audio version of my best-selling book will be out later this year. So stay tuned for that. because it's all about the inner critic. Be a boss and fire that bitch. Quiet your inner critic and finally believe you're good enough. So there's that. And then I will be launching my podcast January. So, it'll be the Influential podcast, all about leadership and lifestyle for women founders and CEOs. But I know I will have a wide variety of guests. So
nice. When you have your podcast planned and ready to go, I have a site that I made for podcasters that no one's even signed up for yet because no one barely knows about it. But it's called the Pod Show Exchange. So list your site on the Pod Show Exchange. And here was my biggest problem with my podcast, and I'll just be transparent because listeners hear this stuff. I made the podcast, and then finding qualified, relevant people to come on is like trying to line people up and make it happen can be a difficulty. So I started the Pod Show Exchange so that if you're a podcast looking for guests, there's one group looking for another group, or if you're a contributor looking for podcasts. So I set it up so that it goes that way. And it's a social group for people in podcasting. So we'll see.
That's amazing.
If people adopt it, great. If people don't, that's, it was a fun project to build. But I do that. Remember I said I'm a builder? So I build lots of projects, and so I have URLs all over the place, and then so I have to track them and figure out who's using what. But when you're ready, jump in there. Pod Show. I'll send you a link.
Awesome.
All right.
Thank you.
Stacy, time was fantastic. I think this is going to be great. I can't wait to edit it down and share it. And heartfelt thank you for your service. It's Veterans Day, right?
You're so welcome. Yeah.
Thank you for your service. Thank you for overcoming all those things that you described and becoming the person that you are today and being able to share that with us. It's just, I'm humbled by it. And like I said, I saw you on Lauren's talk, and then I've seen you on a couple of other things. And I'm like, I've got to get this woman on it. And we teased each other a couple of times with, oh, you got to be on the podcast. I'd love to be on the podcast, back and forth. And here you are. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
You are very welcome. Thank you so much for having me on. It's been such a blast.
All right. Folks, that is it. Big round of applause for Stacy Raske, and follow her. Go to the links in the description. Give her some of your attention. This will be fantastic. Have a great day. Bye-bye.